Welcome to this free retail dropshipping course. There is a ton of insight and a ton of tutorials in here that are really going to help you get results and make money from home for free, organically, very quickly. Now, I'm going to recommend two software programs in this course, okay? Full disclosure, neither are 100% necessary. You can still do everything that you learn in here without those two softwares. They just make it so much easier and so much faster, but we'll talk about them specifically in Lecture 3, and I'll cover exactly what each do and why I specifically recommend that you get them. I think it's a no-brainer, but again, you don't need them because, of course, this is a free retail dropshipping course, so you can avoid them if you 100% want to. Retail dropshipping quite literally changed my life. It is a simple, beginner-friendly business model that anybody can do, and it can be profitable from week one. And that is not hype. I designed this program to package up the same strategies that have worked for me and countless others so you can shortcut the trial and error process and see results a lot faster. Now, over the past several years, my team of VAs and I have listed tens of thousands of products across dozens of platforms, tested countless strategies, and built out proven systems that work for anybody willing to put in consistent effort. And here's what's so powerful. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on ads to test products. You don't need to spend months building a store, hoping it ranks only to find out if it does or doesn't. And you don't need to risk a lot of upfront money to do this. In fact, you don't really need to risk any at all. With retail dropshipping, you're simply leveraging existing marketplaces that already have a massive pool of ready-to-buy customers on them. I mean, imagine taking products from retail websites and listing them onto platforms where people are already actively searching for those specific products or products like them. That is why it is so profitable so quickly, because the traffic, the customers, they're already there, and we're just putting our products in front of them. They're already looking for them. And with the tools and the software that is available today, it is even easier. There's product copying software out there that can literally take the images, the titles, the descriptions from a retailer's page and recreate a ready-to-sell listing for you in almost seconds. It even allows you to automatically mark your price up, so you're building in a profit without doing any of the math yourself. The key, though, is consistency, okay? You don't need to be a genius to make this work. Quite the contrary, actually. It's a very simple business model to implement. You just have to do what most people won't, and that is stay consistent. So the 80-20 principle still applies here. If you focus on the 20% of actions that'll ultimately bring 80% of the results, then the system does exactly that. So let's hop in. All right, so where are we going to be listing on? Where is this course focused around? There are many different sites that you can drop ship on where you'll get you can obviously make some money, right? But a big focus of this course is getting you results quickly and the 80-20 principle in play. So the 80-20 principle states that, 20% of your effort probably ends up resulting in about 80% of the results, right? And vice versa, about 80% of your effort only results in like 20% of the work. So ideally, with that principle in mind, if we could just focus on the 20% of the effort that's going to give us 80% of the results, that is the most bang for our buck, essentially, and that is where we're going to get the most ROI on our time and our effort, okay? So that's what we're going to focus on. Again, while there's a ton of different marketplaces that you can list to, like, Vinted and Curtsy and Vestiaire Collective and like a number of them, right? Bonanza's another one. Like I could go down the list. There's probably 20 of them at least. We're going to focus on the 20% of effort and time spent so we can get 80% of the results very quickly so that you can get results fast and obviously get some, momentum going with this, all right? And then once you set that up, if you outsource it or you have time after the fact, then you can focus on the other 80%, all right? So in this course, the main ones we're going to focus on are Poshmark. We'll scale that up. Mercari will scale that up, and Facebook Marketplace as well. We'll also cover OfferUp briefly because I think that's somewhere else that kind of marries pretty well with it. And if you're in a local spot where you're close to a city, OfferUp actually can be a pretty decent side hustle. You can probably scale it to like $1,000 a month profit. Probably tough to get a little bit over that. But obviously, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, and Mercari, you can get, decently over that, all right? So those are the four ones that we're going to focus on. And the reason I wanted to outline that really briefly is because while there are a number of other websites to dropship on retail dropshipping-wise, the main ones are the ones that we're going to focus on in this course, and we're avoiding the other ones on purpose, not because they don't work, but just because this is going to get you the most results and the most ROI on your time and effort in the quickest and shortest time period possible. All right, so there's two main software tools that I use and that I recommend here. The first one is ZDrop, and the second one is List Perfectly. Now, full disclosure, neither of these are necessary. But that said, I think you'd be hard pressed to do this successfully in the amount of time period that you realistically could, which is very quickly, without them. Okay. The reason being is Z-Drop, as you will see in a lot of these tutorials coming up where I use it, is just a copy paste software. Now, it does a lot of other things I'll touch on here in a second, but mainly 95% of what you're going to use it for is copying pasting, right? So what that means is, let's say you're on an Amazon product listing, and it doesn't just take Amazon product listings, it also takes Etsy product listings, eBay product listings. If you go to zdrop.com, you can see all the different retail websites that it takes from, and then you can also see all the different marketplaces that it copies to, which is a number of them. It's a lot, right? But the majority of this course will focus on like eBay and Amazon. And so with that said, let's say, as an example, you're on an Amazon listing. What Z-Drop will do, in short, is copy that Amazon listing to whatever marketplace you want to list to. Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, Mercari, wherever, and a number of others as well, obviously. But let's say you click the copy button on Z-Drop on an Amazon product listing. Immediately, it's going to automatically copy the title over. It's going to copy the description over. It's going to copy the price over and mark it up based on whatever percentage you set. So if you want to mark it up 60% and that's what you set the settings to, then instantly it's going to mark it up 60%. Which is a game changer, right? If you set it to 80, it's going to mark it up 80%. If you set it to 20, it's going to mark it up 20%, right? So a product that's $100 now becomes $160, and then you obviously make that difference in profit when somebody buys it on a new marketplace, right? It also copies the pictures, and it makes it very easy to do all this. It also copies them in bulk, right? So let's say, hypothetically, you don't have a lot of time right now, but you want it to run in the background while you're going to pick up your kids, or you're going to play golf, or you're going to eat lunch, or whatever the case is. You can just add like 50 items to the bulk list on Z-Drop, and then instantly hit run bulk to whatever website you choose, right? And it will, in the background, do 90% of the work for you and list in bulk to that actual website with a bunch of different windows, depending on how many you added. So in this case, it's 50, and then 50 windows will pop up, all with those Poshmark listings that you copied over from Amazon or eBay or wherever, and then you don't have to do much. You just have to run through and make sure that they're categorized, make sure that there's no issues with the listings. And obviously, we're going to learn that all here in all these lectures based on the specific marketplace that you're listing, right? And then different nuances of each. But the power of this software is it helps you copy listings from websites to the retail dropshipping marketplaces that we're going to list on very quickly, literally in seconds, right? And speed is the name of the game here, because you can copy it manually. You don't need the software, but it's going to take you a lot longer, and it's going to be a lot more of a headache, right? That's Z-Drop. It also does other things, like helps you copy the address when you're processing orders, helps you do a number of other things, helps you download pictures. There's another number of other functionalities. It also stores all the products that you copy, so you don't have to go out and find that supplier every single time. You can just search a few keywords in the actual Z-Drop search bar. So there's a number of other functions, but 95% of what you're going to use it for is obviously the product copying, right? That's the bread and butter. That's why we're buying it. And I believe it's like $16 a month, so it's not expensive at all. Now, I will link it in this lecture. I do not have an affiliate link for it, so I make $0, zero commission for recommending this software, but I have used it for 6 years, right? Now, I do have a coupon code, but again, I don't get any affiliate commission for you using it. I think it saves you a few dollars on that, so I think I'll link that link to Z-Drop, and I'll also link the coupon code above it in this lecture or below, so just check that out. But that's Z-Drop. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer. If you can't spend $16 to start this business model, you probably have some other issues, and you probably should go out and find a job first, or, you could copy manually, of course, right? But it's a very small price to pay for the ability to scale up and earn hundreds and thousands of dollars a month in profit, okay? Now, the next one is one that you definitely don't need. But again, as you start to scale, especially in the beginning, but as you start to scale, you'll want to potentially invest in something like this because it will make copying even faster, right? So while Z-Drop will copy very, very quickly, List Perfectly is essentially something that will copy from the marketplaces that you've already listed on to other marketplaces, right? So for example, let's say you listed on Poshmark. What List Perfectly will do will take all your Poshmark listings and list them to other websites like Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, wherever else you want to list them to, right? And it will do it very, very, very quickly, okay? So that is advantageous because instead of going back to the original listings and listing them to a number of, Facebook Marketplace and Mercari in that instance, you can just really fast with a click of a button shoot them all to those other websites, and then just go back and again, just verify a few things. You're still going to have to obviously submit the listings and make sure that they're formatted properly, but it's going to have the price that you've already marked up. It's going to copy the pictures, the title, the description, and everything in between, and format it exactly for those other marketplaces. It works very, very well. All right. So there's going to be tutorials and lectures on each one of these. I literally made this entire course already, but I just wanted to touch on those two softwares because, in my opinion, they are something that you should think about investing in. ZDrop, get it, okay? It's like $16 a month or whatever, 100% worth it. List Perfectly, you do not need it in the beginning, okay? So you don't need it in the beginning. I will drop a link to it above or below with a discount code. Again, I've been paying for this software 6 years now, but if you're starting to scale or you plan on scaling very quickly or you just want to copy, you want to go ahead and list to like Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace or Mercari very quickly with ZDrop and then almost like instantly list back to the other ones, I would invest in something like List Perfectly, okay? But you don't need it in the beginning. I would get it as you scale, all right? So those are the two ones. Hope that helps. With that being said, in the next lecture, we're going to jump into how to dropship on Poshmark, and then we're going to move into Mercari and Facebook Marketplace and some other places, along with some nuances of each so you can sell more on those platforms, all right? So let's hop into the tutorials. So I want to briefly show you how to dropship on Poshmark using ZDrop from sites like Amazon, Walmart, etc. Really any website that obviously fits the shipping parameters and will get the products to you fast. But obviously for the majority of beginners, I typically recommend Amazon using Amazon Prime and Walmart using Walmart Plus, at least in the beginning to build the base of your store, right? So I'm going to show you a tutorial here of how to use ZDrop. ZDrop is a software I've been using for 5-6 years now. It's great. If you want ZDrop, you can go to zdrop.com. That is ZEEDROP.com. Sign up for it here. It's $17 a month, but honestly, it is so worth it. If you dropship on other platforms like Facebook Marketplace or anywhere like that, then obviously it's also going to help you copy and paste addresses a lot faster, which saves you so much time when you're processing orders. But the majority of you are just going to be focused on the buttons here that comes with it. So that's going to help you copy listings so much faster to sites like Poshmark, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, you name it, okay? So it literally in just a few seconds copies the title, the description, the pictures, and marks the price up a certain amount that you set, right? So once you sign up for ZDrop and you install it, you'll be able to sign in here. The first thing that you want to do is come into your settings and actually set it up, right? So you can see I have my profit margin set to 75%. You could set this to whatever you want. Obviously, you want to account for marking the product up so you're making money. You also want to account for any offers that you plan on actually making on the product, right? And you also want to account for any of the site fees, okay? So Poshmark, which we're going to be dropshipping here specifically, has the highest fees of any platform. That's why I have it marked up to 75%. I also have an offer bot that goes through and makes offers to likers at discounts. So I need to mark it up to account for any of the offers. So if my offer bot makes an offer, I don't lose money on a sale, right? You can mark this up 60%, 50%, 40% if you don't plan on making offers. I typically mark them up higher because I'd rather make more money in less sales than more sales, more work, and the same money. But this is just what works for me. Again, you could play around with this, mark them up higher or lower based on what you want. I'd recommend on Poshmark at least 60%, especially when you're starting, right? Now, you can set up the profit percentage or the profit amount if you want that per sale. I always go profit percentage here. So if we unclick that, go back into settings, you'll see it's set to 75%. I don't ever really put custom templates. You can play around with that if you want. I used to do that a lot on Facebook Marketplace when I dropship there. I don't do that on Poshmark or Mercari or anything like that. I literally just have a copy over the actual description, and then I make sure that there's nothing in the description, all right? Now, for quantity, I typically always recommend to set this to 10. You don't want it to have a quantity of 1 or 2 or 3, so that if you get a sale or two really quickly, then you're out of stock on that product and you don't even know it. So you want a decent amount of your quantity, but you also don't want to make your quantity like 100 or 1,000, because that's going to look a little bit shady. It's also going to increase the amount on your store very quickly, so it'll show like their average revenue that you have in stock. If you're having like billions in revenue because your quantity is like 100 every time, that's going to be a red flag in my opinion. So keep this at 10. That's what I recommend. You could also go 5 or anywhere in between if you want, right? Now, we're going to come back to talk about the run bulk feature here after I actually show you how to list here a few times. But if in the future you want to run bulk, just remember you can't run bulk on anything. You have to come back into your settings and switch what the actual store is that you want to run bulk on, okay?
All Run Bulk does is instead of copying it one at a time, it lets you copy listings, 5, 10, 50, 100 at a time. But again, I'm going to show you that here in a second. Don't worry about selecting the country. Don't worry about running the monitor. I don't use that for this. I don't monitor any of my stock levels, so you don't really need to worry about that. Now, obviously, we're not dropshipping on Facebook here, but if you were dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, you could set up your templates here. So hide from friends, automatically publish. You get the picture. And you can see as you scroll through, different stores have different settings that you can actually set up templates for, right? So if you're dropshipping on any one of those, then obviously you'd want to go through and make sure that you're doing those settings. But we are not. So what you want to do is you want to come down here and you want to go to show/hide buttons. And this makes it really easy to show what buttons and what stores you want to copy to, right? So if you want to copy Amazon listings to Poshmark, for example, well, make sure that Poshmark is clicked here. As you can see, Poshmark is clicked. I have all these stores clicked because I actually dropship on and list to all of these. And ZDrop integrates with every one of these stores if you have it clicked, right? But if you don't want to jumble up your feed, so obviously you can see all these buttons, or you're just focused on dropshipping on Poshmark, Mercari, and Facebook Marketplace, whatever the case is, then just select those buttons. It's going to make your life a lot easier because it's not going to confuse you or your virtual assistant if you ever decide to hire and outsource in the future, right? So that's the run of how to set up the settings. Again, all the buttons to where you want to dropship from based on the actual stores that you're listing on. And then the basics are just set your profit, set your quantity, and then come back over on the bulk feature after I show you one or two listings, right? So once you set it up, it's just as easy as being on the listing, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Amazon, where it's wherever. If you need to know the actual sites that ZDrop integrates with, just go to zdrop.com. You see that they support all of these marketplaces. As you can see, Poshmark is on here. It also supports all of these, so you can copy from any of the sites. I'll show you them here in a second, of the hundreds of sites that they actually copy products from to any of the marketplaces that they copy products to. So you could take any of these. For example, you could copy IKEA to Poshmark. You could copy IKEA to Mercari, IKEA to eBay, IKEA to Facebook, IKEA to Shopify. You get the picture, right? You could also copy Kmart to any one of those. So you can copy any one of these stores to any one of those marketplaces. It is a game changer. You just need to make sure that you're on the listing on one of the websites that it lets you, and obviously have this button checked off in the back end of your settings in ZDrop, and you can copy those products, right? And it's just going to copy the title, like I said, the description, the pictures, and mark the price up automatically based on what you set that percentage to be when you set up your settings. Again, I did 75%. So let's go to a listing here. Obviously, you want to do product research and you want to make sure that you're listing hot in-demand products. But then it's really easy, right? You're just going to click the copy to Poshmark button, let it run. It's going to bring Poshmark up automatically. Obviously, you need to be signed into that website already, so sign into your Poshmark account. You'll see it pops up with the Paste by ZDrop. Click Paste by ZDrop. It's going to take 10 to 15 seconds roughly to copy everything over. You can see it copies everything else fast, and then it copies the picture a little bit slower, so give it like 10, 15 seconds per listing. As soon as the pictures pop up, then you can accept them, and then you know you're ready to move through and edit the listing. So there we go, the pictures. You can obviously make sure the best picture's in the front. If you want to switch up the picture, you just drag it as the actual picture right here with the check mark, apply it, or you could also drag them here later on. And then you just want to go through and you want to edit everything around, right? So you need to take 45 characters out of this title because it can't be greater than 80 characters. So I'm going to cap it at 10 right there. You will be slow in the beginning when you don't know how to actually go through and make these listings a little bit easier. But as you do a few of them, you'll get very quick at it very fast. Like I can probably list manually copying from like Amazon or Walmart to Poshmark realistically in like 30 seconds a listing. You just have to kind of know what to look for and be very quick at it, and Poshmark helps you do that. So does the bulk feature. I'll show you that shortly. And then you just want to make sure that anything in the description isn't giving any money back guarantees, any brand information for that actual brand, or any warranty information or anything like that. Now, typically speaking on Amazon, that's going to be the last bullet point most of the time, not always, but most of the time. So just take a look at the actual description. Obviously, check to make sure that there's no warranty, no brand information, no money back guarantees, nothing about it being an Amazon product. And then if not, you're good. Just keep everything else in there and delete all the things that you need to out of the description. Category, you just categorize it. So what is this? Obviously, it's a sign. So just find the best category. Again, you will be slower at finding categories in the beginning, but as you do 5, 10, 15 products, you will know immediately, oh, it's this category and how to find them so much faster. So you will be slow in the beginning. That is fine. You will get faster, I promise you. This is like second nature now. I can list on all these platforms super fast. So this is a tin sign. You could put it in other. You could put it in home. wall decor, other, you get the picture. I'm probably going to choose wall decor here, and we'll say art and decals. Now, multi-item, I always say 10. Is this new with tags since we're drop shipping new products? Obviously it is. The brand, if you're drop shipping third-party products from Amazon, I wouldn't worry about putting the brand in. The only time you want to put the brand in is if it's a popular, recognizable brand and you're reselling most of the time, because then it's going to bring eyes to that listing because it's a popular brand, right? Nike, Adidas, DeWalt, stuff like that. But if you're drop shipping a product with a popular brand name, you probably don't want to put the brand name in there because then people are just going to price check it on other websites. So most of the time I leave the brand blank. I also typically leave the color blank, although if it's something specific where you're drop shipping clothing on Poshmark or something of the sort, you could obviously add the color. That's going to help increase your conversion rate, help give the buyer more information about the product, and help decrease the friction to the sale. Now, tags, you always want to put tags in here. So what is this? It's a sign, it's decor. And if you need ideas for the keywords to put in there, you can just look through the description or the title and find what to actually put, right? So I'm going to say Halloween is another one. It doesn't just have to be like one keyword as well. You can put multiple keywords. So you could have Halloween sign, enter, and then your keyword would be Halloween sign. So anytime someone types Halloween sign in, yours is going to have a higher likelihood to pop up. You get the picture, right? Now, original price and listing price, I always put original price at 0, and I put the listing price based on what it marks up at, right? Because it's going to mark both of those up. You can see this is $8 on Amazon. It marked it up 75%, which is $14. Another rule of thumb for me is if it's always, I tell my VAs this as well, in the beginning, you will not have a VA. You won't be outsourcing any of the listing. You're going to be doing this yourself. It's going to go so fast with the bulk feature. But as a rule of thumb, I typically put the listing price if it's under $25 just to make an extra markup on the profit, because I don't want to do the legwork for like $3 or like $2 often. I'll always put anything that's under $25 as the listing price after ZDrop marks it up to $25 minimum. I don't sell anything under $25 unless I'm getting an offer or my offer bot is making an offer. That's the only time where I'll actually accept something lower than that. And then we just list, right? I always keep the original price 0 and the listing price at what I actually want it to be. I find that looks better. Some people try to actually put the original price higher and the listing price lower. What that does is it puts the price on the listing, crosses it out, and makes it look like $25 is the sale going on. I find that it doesn't increase conversion rate. It actually has the opposite effect. So I like the clean look of having 0 as the original price, so it doesn't look like it's on sale. This is the price of the item. It's brand new. This is what it's worth. And then obviously let your offer bot do the work, let your share bot do the work so that you're getting more sales. And again, we're going to cover all of that later on, so do not worry. And then you just next and list it. Boom, list the item. If it pops up with any warning here, perfect example, fragile item detected, oversized item detected, just publish the listing anyway, don't worry about it. And there you go, we listed our first item, right? So let's list one more and then I'll show you how the actual bulk lister works. So copy to Poshmark, there it goes, it copies to Poshmark. As soon as the paste button pops up here, we'll paste by ZDrop, give it 10-15 seconds to copy over, and then as soon as the pictures pop up, we know it's fully copied and we can just add the pictures and then move on to editing the listing. There we go. Now apply them. Again, make sure the best picture's in the front. First thing we're going to do is come down here and edit the title. I typically take the brand name out. So if there's a brand name in the beginning, as you can see, Goose right there, I'll take that out. We'll start taking out some here at the title. So there we go. Title done. Now again, you're going to want to go through the actual description and make sure that there's no warranty, brand information, anything about it selling on Amazon, any money back guarantees. As long as there's nothing in there, you can obviously keep the majority of it. Just read through really quickly, make sure all that's not in there. So if it's a description like this, where obviously we're way over the actual character limit of 1,500, and we need to take a bunch out. But B, a lot of this won't really help you typically make more sales. Obviously, the more keywords in there, the higher likelihood it's going to show up for a number of things. But typically speaking, the actual main description is going to be good, so I'll delete all that. Obviously, the last bullet point here has nothing about brand warranty or money back guarantee, so we're good. Then we're going to list this. So this is home decor. I'm going to say holiday because it's holiday decor, and there we listed it, right? And there we categorized it. Now, multi-item, 10. If it's obviously a clothing item, then you want to add another size, put like small, medium, whatever the size availability is. I typically avoid myself clothing items, although clothing items sell well on Poshmark. That's because I have a VA that does it full-time every single day, so they'll list the clothing items for me, but obviously that's going to take a little bit more time. Clothes are a great thing to get into. They do take a little bit longer to list because obviously you had to add the variations and the sizes, but they do sell well on Poshmark as well. So play around with what works best for you and what's the best allocation of your time. In the beginning, you probably don't want to do close if you're trying to get to that $1,000 a month mark. But again, once you get there, by all means, start adding close. Outsource to a virtual assistant to list for you. But that's something that we can talk about once you get there as the next step. Let's get you to that 1,000 first. New with tags, yes. Add this item into your boutique, yes. Brand, again, we always keep that blank most of the time. You probably will too most of the time. Color, you could add it if you want to, but again, I keep that blank most of the time. This is a spider. It's a Halloween decoration. And we'll look for one more keyword in the actual listing. So inflatable or yard blow up is a good one as well. There we go. Original price is going to be 0. I'm going to leave the listing price 47 because it already marked it up 75% from 27 to 47. So obviously there's that built-in price there, right? It also tells you what you're going to make after all the Poshmark fees are taken out if you sell it at $47. So you know that if you sell this at $47, you're going to make $37.60. You're going to buy it from Amazon at $27. So you will be making a little bit over $10 if you sell this on Poshmark. And that is how you list on Poshmark with Z-Drop. It is that simple, okay? So now let me show you how the bulk list feature works. So the bulk list feature is going to save you so much time. It's going to list all these products really quickly, so you don't have to wait here as they're listing. Click one over to list it, and then click paste by Z-Drop. Wait 15 seconds for it to list the actual pictures, and then click and go through it, right? The bulk list feature is going to actually pop them all up on Poshmark for you automatically. You need to obviously give it the time to list, but the benefit of it is you can go off and do something else in your business. You can go off and eat lunch. You could take a walk. Whatever the case is, you can move about your life, come back 20, 30 minutes later, depending on how many listings you actually added to your bulk list, and then it will do it all for you. And then you just need to come back. You can X out of all the Amazon tabs and then edit each listing just like you would have before, but now you can edit them all at once instead of waiting for them all to copy. It's a game changer, okay? So to add the bulk list feature, again, we need to go back into the settings to make sure that we haven't changed it to Facebook Marketplace or Mercari. If you wanted a bulk list there, you would, again, just change the settings. So go back to settings, go to the run bulk/multiple listings here, and make sure whatever store that you actually want to run bulk on is selected there, okay? So we want to list it on Poshmark, so make sure it's checked. It is. And then when you're done, obviously, one thing I forgot to say is make sure that you save your button status right here with this button and save this after you change it. Otherwise, it will just go back to the default. So save your button status after you obviously select which stores you want the buttons to be, whichever the blue ones are. Save your button status. Whenever you make a change to the percentage, or in this case, the run bulk feature or whatever, so it saves it to your actual settings, and then you're good to go. If you don't save it, it will just go back to the default, okay? So now that we've changed the actual bulk feature to do it for Poshmark, now we can go back to these, and now instead of copying to Poshmark, we are going to save them to the bulk list, okay? And the bulk list is going to be up here on Z-Drop. If you go to Z-Drop and bulk, there we go. There's 2 in the bulk list already. So we're going to save to the bulk list. There we go. Let it work. As soon as the pictures go, it's saved to the bulk list. Now, if we come back to the bulk list, you can see there's 3 in there with this product in there now. X out of that. And now we're going to save all of these to the bulk list if we wanted just the bulk to do it for us. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. And you can do this with 10 products, 20 products, 50 products. I typically don't recommend people go over 50 products, obviously, because sometimes it can lag out. So the magic number is roughly 50 products, but obviously you could try it a little bit further if you wanted to go a little bit further than that. But listing 50 products at a time is going to be very quickly. With that, you can get a few hundred products up in a day if you really want to get it done, or even 1,000, honestly, if you're really kind of working through it. And get a lot of products very quickly and make some decent money, assuming you're sharing and listing good products, of course. But this is going to change the game for you because you can list products so much faster now, right? So now if I want to actually run the bulk list, you can see it added all of those products to it. I'm going to come back, select all, and then run the bulk list. I'm going to show you that here in a second, actually running and how you can edit it. But keep in mind, every single time you want to add new products to a bulk list, after you list all those, come back and delete all the products in this bulk list, right? By clicking the actual trash bin next to it, and then it will delete that product. There you saw that disappeared. Delete that product. There you saw it disappeared, right? So I want to list these all in bulk. I'm going to select them all and then run bulk and just go about my life, right? As soon as I click run bulk, you see it go. It's going to start listing the product by copying the first item in the bulk list to Poshmark. And the benefit is I don't need to be here doing this myself. It's going to do it all for me. And then again, leave the Poshmark windows up with all the information and all the pictures and the markup there. So I can just come back when I'm ready, edit everything around like I showed you before, submit the listing. It goes so much faster that way. All right, guys. So use this. It's going to change the game for you. This is how you drop ship products from Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Etsy, wherever on the Poshmark, on the Facebook Marketplace, on wherever. Again, just check C-Drop. If it fits with that website to that website, you can list it. Hope it helps.
Are you a Poshmark seller, but maybe you're not getting the sales that you thought you would? I get it. I've been there. And the chances you're probably overlooking at least one of these things. So in this video, we're going to cover several things to keep in mind to make sure that your Poshmark sales are maximized. Checking off all these boxes will ensure that your Poshmark game is as strong as possible. First and foremost, you want to price high and then make discounted offers to likers to drive sales. Now, this simulates urgency because of the timed offer, and it also increases perceived value of buying it now. It sounds simple, but to this date, it has been my best strategy to get sales and still works extremely well. Secondly, when someone does make you an offer, you can then decline it and raise your price. For whatever reason, it doesn't notify the potential buyer that makes the offer that the price has changed, nor does it say it on the offer page. So when you do this and they come back to take a look at the offer they made and why it got declined, they'll think they might have lowballed you and then they'll offer you more. I'd say this probably works around a third of the time and ends up with you getting a higher offer and ultimately more money in your pocket. Third is share as much as you can. So for example, sharing from your closet actively puts those items in the feed of the people that follow you. And sharing from parties brings new eyes to your closet and more attention on your items, because ultimately Poshmark is kind of like a share for share culture. So when you share their item, most people will come back to your closet and share yours. And that also just brings more numbers to your closet overall, and therefore the probability that you'll make more sales increases based solely on simple math. Not only that, but the most important reason you want to share constantly is Poshmark will rank the items that you share higher in search. Put simply, if you just shared an item, it'll have much more visibility than if you didn't. And that ties me into the next point, which is you need sharing software. In order to get sales, you'll need to spend all day sharing, and if you're doing it manually, nobody wants to do that. And if you're not using sharing software, you're basically competing with one hand tied behind your back against other people that definitely are. And you're going to struggle to get sales, I promise you. Fifth is understanding trends and market timing. So what I mean by that is understand what to list and when. For example, if it's getting warmer out, it's probably time to start listing more things that fit warm weather, like clutch purses or light dresses or shorts or coolers, for example. If it's approaching fall or winter, then maybe it's time to look into listing hats or winter coats or scarves. Obviously, those are easy examples, but hopefully that starts to get you thinking in the right direction. But if you're listing winter coats in the summer, you're going to struggle to make sales. So just have at least some pulse on what to list and when, and you'll sell a lot more organically. Finally, you should think about starting to drop ship. If you're reselling products on Poshmark, that's great, but ultimately you're handicapped by how much inventory you have and how good it is. Plus, you'll have to front all the money to purchase it and store it all as well. And dropshipping is such a better business model to at least implement in conjunction with your current inventory. You won't have to front any of the money for the inventory. You won't have to have enough space to store it all, and you can just list whatever products you already know are selling well on other platforms, and that will give you a higher likelihood to make more sales. And if you're under the impression that you can't dropship on Poshmark, you certainly can if you do it correctly. So use this video as a checklist if you want, and try to make sure that you're doing all these things consistently, and I'm willing to bet your sales will start trending upward. So in this lecture, I'm going to teach you how to dropship on Mercari. Mercari is one of those, a lot like Poshmark, that is super promising if you're doing retail dropshipping. Now, there are a few things, just like Poshmark, that you need to understand if you plan on dropshipping on Mercari effectively. But if you start dropshipping on Mercari, there's no reason that you can't be making a few $1,000s a month or two from now if you scale it up the correct way with the correct products and you don't try to jump the gun, okay? I'm going to outline 2 ways that you can do it effectively here in this tutorial, but just understand the nuances of Mercari and then scale consistently and you'll be fine. Now, there's 2 main ways that you're able to dropship on Mercari, okay? So the first is direct to the customer, just like anything else, right? So for on Facebook Marketplace, for example, we've covered like how you can just list products and then ship them directly to the customer from your supplier and then input the tracking number. You don't actually have to be the middleman. You can do the same thing on Mercari. However, there are some nuances involved with that, okay? You need images first and foremost that don't look stock photo-y, because on Mercari, they're really touchy about stock photos being in your listing, okay? I used to recommend that you only need one review image on the front and then the rest can be stock images, and that can still work to a certain degree, but I would take it a step further even and just go all review images or all photos that look like they've been taken by an actual person on an actual camera that don't look stock photo-y, a lot like this, right? This is an example of a listing with a lot of stock photos that you wouldn't be able to get away with. Same thing with like any Amazon listing. Like, for example, if we were trying to list this fish oil right here and Mercari sees this, they're going to flag you. You're going to get a notification that you violated their policy, and too many policy violations will eventually lead to an account suspension, all right? So it's not worth it. Just scale slowly, do it with the right products, and you'll be totally fine. Now, there's two main ways that I do it. Mainly with eBay, I'll do it directly to the customer. The key is finding listings on eBay that don't look too stock photo-y and actually have pictures that look like somebody took them themselves, right? So this pull-ups right here is a perfect example of an image that it looks like somebody actually took themselves on their computer, right? This pull-ups right here, not one of those. This one is one of those. It looks like somebody kind of took it themselves, right? This one, again, looks like somebody took it themselves. This one kind of looks like somebody took it themselves. This one does not, right? It's too stock photo-y, okay? And the reason I like it with eBay is because if you're shipping directly to a customer on Mercari specifically, you don't want to run into issues where you need to use a track taco tracking number. It can work, but long-term, inevitably, it's going to piss some customers off. And since it's against Mercari's terms of service to actually do so, you don't want to get in trouble and get caught doing that. So I recommend going with somebody, if you're shipping directly to the customer, going with somewhere like eBay where you know these are third-party sellers and they're going to be using a USPS, a FedEx, or a UPS tracking number, so you're fine. So as long as you're using something like eBay or somewhere where you know that they're going to use one of those three main carriers that you can then input into Mercari, and your listing has images that don't look like they're stock photos and look like you took them yourselves, then you'll be totally fine. I've only really identified eBay as being a place like that, all right? So for example, if I wanted to list this on Mercari, I wouldn't, because it doesn't have multiple quantity on eBay. The toughest part about finding listings on eBay are finding listings that are high quality, that have the information and good quality pictures that don't look stock photo-y. That's number one. And number two, obviously, once that is the case, you need to find something that with multiple quantity so it doesn't become out of stock before you can sell it, and then it ends up being a headache anyway, right? So this one only has one left, but again, that's an example of a stock photo one. This one is a perfect example of one that has multiple quantity. I can mark up, sell on Mercari, and it looks like the photos have been taken by somebody literally on a table. It does not look stock photo-y, right? This is another perfect example of one that we could list right here. This is another perfect example of pictures that we could list right here. Same thing with this one, right? So it really just becomes the nuance of finding these type of listings on eBay. With a little bit of searching around, you can find them relatively easy. I just wanted to hit that home in the beginning because that is the most important thing that you need to understand if you want to be successful long-term dropshipping on this platform. But it is a great platform with a lot of sales velocity, especially with the right products. Now, if I wanted to copy this to Mercari, I would just copy to Mercari. And since this specifically is eBay, where I know that I'm shipping it directly to the customer, that's how I'd set this listing up. Now, right after this, I'm going to teach you, just like anything, right? You'd paste by Z-drop. Right after this eBay example, I'll do one more with you, and then I'll show you a different method that you can use. I utilize both of them. One from Amazon and Walmart, where I do the dropship arbitrage, and one from eBay, where I directly ship to customers. I'll list from both, and I'll do both. So as soon as this pastes in the pictures here, there we go. So now we have all the pictures. They don't look stock photo-y. We want to make sure that just like anything, you don't have anything about eBay in the description. A lot of things on eBay will potentially have eBay in the description. A lot of them will say like, find the best deals at eBay. Just make sure there's nothing about eBay in your description. That's again, another way that you can get flagged on Mercari. So just do like a Control F if you're on PC or a search function if you're on Mac. I don't know what the search function is. It's something similar. And then type in eBay and make sure that it does not say eBay on the page. So we're good there, all right? Now we add the hashtags. You would do the same thing. So you just add a few hashtags here. So we'd go like wall mount, tools, tool holder. This is not tools and collectible, or this is not toys and collectibles. It's tools and equipment. I'm going to say no brand, even though this is made for Ryobi. It's not Ryobi. It's made for Ryobi. It is new and there is shipping. So keep that in mind with With some eBay listings, there will be shipping, so just account for that in how much you mark it up, all right? But again, ZDrop will automatically mark it up. This is another great platform that you can dropship on. Now, when we're doing it from eBay specifically, we're going to ship it to the customer directly, like I said, right? We're dropshipping it directly. So if that's what you're doing with eBay, you want to make sure that you have ship on your own selected, all right? And make sure that it marked it up. It did. It doubled the price almost, right? It marked it up. I have mine set to like 70% currently, but we also want to account for the shipping charge. So I'll mark it up a little bit more even, and I'll go $19. And now we know that we're paying $9.25 plus $3.25. So what is that, like $12.50? So $12.50 plus tax is probably, we'll say $13.50 maybe. So I'm really only going to make like $2.50 if I mark this up. That's not really enough to kind of be worth it. So I'll mark this up to $25 and make sure that I'm making a little bit more. Again, the only reason that this comes into play is one, because they're shipping, and two, because this is a relatively cheap product. If you're using ZDrop to mark up a product that's more expensive, for example, you're not really going to have to manually mark anything up because it's already going to mark it up a significant amount for you already. So you don't really need to worry about that, but only if you're really dealing with shipping or something that's relatively cheap. I'm going to turn smart pricing off because I don't want this on if I'm drop shipping directly. I don't want to monitor my prices, and then I'll simply list it. And so there, we listed that one in Mercari. Now let's show you another example of ones that we can and can't list. So this one, again, stock photos. Clearly, another reason you want to avoid this is because it has the Suzuki Parts Express brand name in that. So you don't want to list that because that could be an IP complaint, right? On Facebook and on Mercari. Always avoid brand names in the pictures and brand names if it's like a third-party seller in the title. You want to avoid those at all costs, all right? Plus, this only has one, but we wouldn't list it anyway because it has stock photos. Now, this is another example right here, something that you might want to list because it's not stock photos, but it is pre-owned, so keep that in mind if you're listing that as well. You can list pre-owned stuff, I do from time to time, and it can work, although keep in mind that you want to make sure that there's multiple quantities. So this one is a perfect example of something that looks like is not stock photos. You can clearly see somebody took this against a wood background. So it's going to look legit if we list it on Mercari. There is shipping, so we need to account for that. A lot of times there won't be on eBay, but just keep that in mind in case there is. So we're going to copy it to Mercari. There is multiple quantity, and then we're going to paste it by ZDrop and wait for the pictures to come in. All right, there we go. So the title looks pretty good. It's already got no bad keywords in it or anything like that. We want to make sure that, again, there's no eBay in the description. So we're going to search for eBay on the page. Okay, no eBay, thank God. Now we're going to go Craftsman here. Because Craftsman is an actual brand, we don't need to worry about taking that out because it's not a third-party brand, right? It's a main brand that's going to help us get more eyes and visibility on this listing. So I'm going to keep it in there. I'm also going to use it as a hashtag. We're going to do tools, and we'll go wrench. It looks like it's already been categorized in tools. Craftsman's already been branded. It is new. The color is red just because of the background's red, so we'll keep it there. Again, we're shipping it directly to the customer via eBay, so we're going to ship it on our own. Now, we need to obviously turn off smart pricing, and we want to make sure that we account for the $10 shipping. We don't forget that. So $10, so I'll mark it up another $10, and we'll go $49 just to stay under $50. Then we make sure I'm making $42. This is going to be $32 to ship, maybe a few more dollars, maybe like $2 more, so we'll say $34 if you account for tax. And that's totally fine. That's an $8 profit margin, so we'll list that. And that's how you can drop ship on Mercari directly to customers. Again, just make sure no stock photos in your listings, and use suppliers, especially like eBay, that you know are third-party sellers, so you know that they're going to use a USPS, a FedEx, or a UPS tracking number, right? Because if, for example, you would try to drop ship Amazon or Walmart, like I'm going to show you here in a second, or any of these other places directly to a customer, even if you were to use all review images, you might eventually run into an issue where you have a TBA tracking number on Amazon, or you have a DoorDash tracking number on Walmart. And that is something that you want to avoid on Mercari. They take that seriously, and all it takes is a customer to ask you that via messages, and then their algorithm will pick up on it very quickly. Or a customer to report it to Mercari in a case, and then again, Mercari takes that very seriously. So you don't want to go through that. Slow and steady scale. Use eBay directly like I just showed you, or you can use Walmart and Amazon, but use Amazon Prime and Walmart Plus, and then order to you first and do the dropship arbitrage. So if I were going to do it from Amazon or Walmart, it's the same way on Walmart. You just grab the review images. I'll show you the same thing on Amazon. You just want to grab listings and only take listings with high quality review images that you can then use on your listing, and then you can use all the other information, copy it over with ZDrop so that it stores the actual URL so you can go back to it, and then you order it to yourself first, use the Mercari label, charge the customer for shipping, and then ship it out with a Mercari label, a lot like you would do on Poshmark, a lot like you would do on OfferUp, and any other place where you need to do dropship arbitrage, right? So I don't always do this. A lot of times I'll ship directly with eBay, but I do list products that I know are hot selling products on Mercari like this, and it works very well. You just need to do the dropship arbitrage. Okay, we understand we need to do the dropship arbitrage. We understand that we need to find Amazon or Walmart listings with a lot of review images. How do we do that, right? Well, typically speaking, if you're finding high quality products that have a lot of reviews and have been on the platform for a while and are rated well, they're going to have good review images most of the time, right? So let's open this one. Let's open this one. Also keep in mind that if you're doing this with the dropship arbitrage, you might not want to dropship a desk, right? Or you might not want to do something like super big because you have to take that to the post office, to UPS or FedEx yourself. So keep it relatively small. It can still be something on the bigger end, like it can still be a bigger package, but just keep in mind that you have to take that to the actual post office or UPS or FedEx yourself and drop it off with the label. So let's go this one. We'll try this. Let's go these sunglasses. We'll try these. And we're just looking for images that have high quality review images that we can then list to Mercari. So the first thing you want to do is check if it has review images and if they're good. Can any of these be used on Mercari in your listing to sell the actual product, right? Well, some of them actually can. This is a pretty good picture. This is a pretty good picture. That's a pretty good picture. I'm going to take all of those, right? So what you can do then is you can just clip the review images. You'll also get more bang for your buck if you do this along with Depop and Vinted at the same time. So if you're grabbing these review images, don't just list this to Mercari, list it to Depop and Vinted as well. But I'll teach you Depop and Vinted coming in a few lectures. Just keep that in mind. And then you can list all of them very quickly because you'll have all those review images. So now that we grab those 3 review images, we can sell the listing because Mercari's not going to know that we don't have this and we're sourcing it from Amazon first because it looks like we took the images that we put on the listing. So we're going to copy this to Mercari, paste it by Z-Drop. Understand that when it copies it over, it is going to take all the other stuff, so it's going to save you a lot of time, but it is going to take the images in there. Now, I used to tell people to keep these in there and then just paste the review images in the front. I don't recommend that anymore. Just play it safe. It's better safe than sorry. Just delete them all. It's not necessary, and then upload your review images that you grab. And now drag the best one in the front, and that's a pretty solid listing. It looks like I took these myself, right? You might get the random message if you take a review image that looks high quality, like, hey, is this new? And you can just reiterate, like, yeah, this is brand new, never opened, like I just took the pic. There's the title, drag this down, make sure there's nothing about warranty information, brand information, money back guarantees, same as Facebook Marketplace. Does not look like it is. There's nothing about any brands, so we're going to drag this down. This is going to be sunglasses, glasses, we'll go shades. There we go. And we're going to say that these are men's sunglasses. These are not Dolce & Gabbana. They're no brand. They're new. I'm going to leave the color off just because I'm not sure if these are brown or black. I'd have to check. They look brown, so they might be brown. They are brown. All right, so we'll keep it brown. Then, since we're doing it from Amazon, we are not going to have ship it on our own, right? Because we're going to order it to ourselves first. We're going to use the Mercari label. We're going to do the dropship arbitrage. Now, with standard shipping, you can pick the specific shipping that you're going to choose, right? So how do you know what that is? You're going to choose a prepaid label, and then you're going to input the actual numbers here. So you go back to Amazon, you scroll down. You can guesstimate, obviously, but the best way is to just figure it out because Amazon tells you this is only 4 ounces roughly, and it's 7 by 3 by 1 inches. So it's 4 ounces, 7 by 3 by 1, and that's going to tell you that when you select the carrier, it's relatively cheap shipping. Now, sometimes it's going to be more expensive, sometimes it's not going to be more expensive. It really depends on the weight of the actual package and the size of the package. Then just pick your best option, or obviously if you have a FedEx closer to your house and you want to go to FedEx all the time, pick that, right? So you can pick the cheapest option or your favorite option. Then you can select that you'll pay. But when I'm doing dropship arbitrage, I typically have the buyer pay so that I don't have to worry about the shipping cost and I can just mark it up using Z-Drop. If you want to offer free shipping, that can work better. But if you're going to do that, then make sure that you input that specific cost into your price so that you can account for that discrepancy and still make the same profit margin. So whichever way you want to do it works, and then you smart pricing off and you list. All right, so we just listed that one. Now let's do one more. Let's find out if this beard one, because it has a lot of ratings, has any good review images. That's the first step. This one's not terrible. That's actually pretty good because it's still in the package. The best pictures that you can take are ones like this, where it looks like you're taking a picture of the package where you can see what the product is, but it's clearly still new. So this is a great image for a listing. We'll save that. Let's try to find a few more. That's not a terrible one. That's a pretty solid one. And you can grab, 2 to 5 images. Obviously, the more images that you have, assuming that they're quality, the better. But for the sake of saving your time, I'm just going to grab 2 here. Now that we have our review images, we're going to go up. We're going to copy it to Mercari, paste it in, and then wait for the pictures to load. All right, there we go. So now that we have the pictures in there, we're going to delete them because we don't want stock images on Mercari. We're going to add our review images instead. That one's first, that one's second. You can put them all in at the same time. I just did it. Now we're going to make sure that the title and the description, just like any other platform, are good with no information about money back guarantees, warranty, brand information, anything like that. Nothing about it selling on the Amazon platform. It looks fine. We're going to take the price out there, and that looks pretty good. Now we're going to scroll down. This is hairstyling, so it hit that. We're going to go hair, we'll go beard, and we'll go shape. Now there's no brand because it's third party. It is new. Now with the delivery here, what we want to do is we want to choose the package, right? We're going to do standard shipping and choose the package size because we're ordering it to ourselves first because we're using Amazon or Walmart as a supplier. And so we need to do the dropship arbitrage. So we go back. This is 1 ounce, 6 by 4 by, we'll round that up to say 1 because you can't go 0. So we'll edit shipping. It was 1 ounce, 6 by 4, 6 by 4 by 1. And then we'll choose this one. We're going to say that the buyer pays shipping for this. Mark that up a little bit more just so that we still have a margin on it. And there we go. We listed that, and that's how fast it is and how easy. So those are the 2 ways that you can dropship on Mercari. Remember, scale it up slowly. Either do the dropship arbitrage with Amazon and Walmart, but only use review images, or do eBay directly with third-party sellers, but again, only use images that don't look like they're stock, that look like the review images that you took yourself. If you do this and you do it consistently, you list here a lot and you list the right products, you can make a considerable amount of money every month on Mercari. I'm speaking from experience. I've been a Mercari seller for something like 4 or 5 years now. It's a straightforward enough platform, a lot like eBay. Although in the beginning, my sales were a fraction of what they are now. I learned what works and what doesn't through years of trial and error, countless failures, and over 10,000 listings. The first thing I learned to do when listing products is to never price myself out of profit. You always want to list a lot higher than you think you should. For starters, this has a positive impact on buyer psychology. When a buyer sees a listing priced super low, they subconsciously assume that it's not worth that much. And on the contrary, when they see a listing priced higher, they subconsciously assume it's worth more. So believe it or not, one of the easiest ways to make more on Mercari is just price your items higher. Furthermore, you'll notice that a lot of people make offers on this platform, so they'll feel like they're getting a deal. But if your item is already priced appropriately and it's priced low, you won't make much profit, if any, and that's if you decide to accept the offer. So one of my most effective strategies on this platform and others as well is to list high in anticipation of accepting offers. You can even take it a step further if you want to and then raise your listing price when you do receive an offer and then decline the offer after you do that, which will inevitably bring that person back to the offer page where they'll see a larger discrepancy than they might remember on their offer versus the listing price. And a lot of times this can result in them making an even higher follow-up offer because for some reason, Mercari doesn't notify them when you change the listing on the offer page. Keep in mind, this obviously does come with risk that you won't get another offer, but it's just something that I've had a lot of success with from time to time, so test it out. The next thing I've noticed that works really well is to offer free shipping on all your listings. I've split tested this for years, and I can definitively tell you that the listings with free shipping convert more. Even if the buyer is paying the same exact amount at the end transaction, just the listing price is higher with free shipping, it still tends to work more in most cases. I've also come to realize that good customer service and good ratings help you convert a lot of potential buyers as as well, especially on Mercari. Mercari's been around for a while, but newer people just kind of getting introduced to the platform tend to get trust issues when purchasing for the first time. Just look at this Mercari scam video I dropped years ago and how many comments with newer buyers worried that they're going to get scammed are on there. So understand that on Mercari especially, almost every buyer is going to check your ratings and the recent reviews you've gotten and read them before they decide to purchase from you or not. So make sure you're keeping customers happy, keeping your ratings up, because it matters. I also recommend testing the automatic price drop feature on Mercari and the recommended pricing feature as well when you list. The recommended price feature is not the be all end all. Trust me, I price way higher than that all the time, but it is a good indicator of the other products that are very similar on the platform and then what they recommend that you list it off based on their prices. The automatic price drop feature will make offers to likers slowly and then slowly drop the price to simulate urgency and build value, a lot like we covered in tip number 1, but it will do this automatically for you. Just make sure you're setting a minimum price in there so you don't, again, price yourself out of profit. You also want to test more products too. If you want to start selling a lot more products on Mercari, you need to understand what sells well on the platform. So for example, I know that electronics, car parts, and power tools are 3 examples of things that sell well for me typically. But the only reason I know that is because I've listed lots of products on the platform. So take your best sellers as a start from other platforms and test them here. And typically what sells well on eBay or Facebook Marketplace does tend to sell well on Mercari as well. But don't stop there. Continue to test different things. And then when you get a product or a product category that starts selling well for you, double down on that. Those are some strategies I've picked up from years of selling on Mercari. This platform for sure won't make you a millionaire, but there's no reason why you can't do at least $1,000 to $2,000 profit per month on here with the right products and the right strategies, of course.
So in the next few lectures, we're going to cover several ways that you can drop ship on Facebook Marketplace, obviously using the same software, Z-Drop, okay? It's the same overall strategy, just on a different website, in this case, Facebook Marketplace. Now, there's several ways to approach it, and they all work. You can drop ship directly, obviously, using the same similar suppliers, and I'm going to show you all the different nuances of that in this part of the course. You could also drop ship using review images. That's going to help protect your account a little bit more long-term, because if you're using review images, you won't run into any IP claims, which is the main thing that tanked a lot of sellers in the past. They would just get tons of IP claims, and then obviously your account gets suspended, right? That is not necessarily the case anymore, especially since it's not running rampant with dropshippers anymore. Facebook isn't doing those massive purges where they're going through and getting IP claims and kind of taking them super serious. So you can obviously just do it with the normal pictures. However, there's benefits to the review images. First and foremost, it doesn't take that much extra time to do it with a software like Z-Drop. I will show you that in that specific tutorial. Also, furthermore, it looks a little bit more marketplacey, right? So Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, all those places kind of started in mind with like resale items that are secondhand, right? Obviously, you find new items on there, you find people drop shipping on there, but they started with that kind of purpose, and most people kind of still view it that way. So if you're using review images, it's going to look like it's a secondhand item a lot of times, or that it's going to look more native on the platform, and you'll get more clicks potentially. It's obviously safer for your account long term because, like I said, you won't run into the IP claims, and it doesn't take that much more time. Also, it looks more platform friendly and can actually result in some decent sales as well. So we're going to cover all that in that lecture, but there's multiple ways to dropship. I just wanted to cover that. Now, in the next lecture, we're going to cover how to dropship when you do get the shipping option and the buy button. If you have a brand new account, then you probably won't, or even like an account that hasn't obviously listed anything or hasn't, done a lot of interacting on the platform lately, you may or may not have the shipping option, right? If you do have the shipping option, it's totally fine. Skip this lecture, go to the next one, because you can ship directly. You don't need to actually do this, what I'm about to show you, right? If you don't, and if you have a brand new account, you don't have the shipping option or the buy button yet. So for example, if we go to Facebook Marketplace and we go to the Marketplace icon here, you'll notice that if you click on some of the listings for specific things, some of them don't have a buy button, right? Like this listing just says send. You can only message this person because this is like a local meetup item, right? Now, some of them will actually have a buy button, and obviously some of these people don't have that. So see, for example, this listing right here, this seller has a buy now option, right? So the difference is this seller that's selling this does not have a buy button. They don't have the shipping option enabled yet because either they're a newer seller, they haven't gone through the process to enable it. This seller does have the buy option. So this is the ultimate goal for us drop shippers on the platform, because then we can drop ship, we can input the actual tracking number into the Facebook Marketplace platform, and it's so much easier, right? If you do, again, have that shipping option when you actually go ahead to list, then skip this lecture. We will cover that in the next lecture. If you don't, and you don't have the buy button out or the shipping option, then obviously watch this. This will teach you how to still drop ship, still sell on the platform, still make money while you're getting the buy button enabled, right? So just the same, if you do or don't, you're just going to start by listing products to the platform like usual, right? So in this case, you want to make sure that obviously you have your Z-Drop list to Facebook Marketplace icon selected. If you don't and you need to change that, you just go up to Z-Drop, settings, scroll down, obviously, as you can see, scroll down until you see the buttons like we covered before. Scroll down until you see the buttons and make sure that you have Facebook selected, and then save your button status, okay? So then once you're on a listing, you just want to copy to Facebook, let it do its job just like it would on every other platform. As soon as you see it pop up with paste data, paste the data, let it do its job, give it like 5 to 10 seconds to paste everything in there. All right, there it goes. So just the same on every other platform. We're going to take out any brand names. We're going to edit around the title, edit around the description. Same things apply here, right? Make sure that, especially if you're dropshipping from Amazon in this case, make sure there's no warranty, no brand information, nothing like that, nothing about it being an Amazon listing. It already automatically marked the price up just like it would for any other website because Z-Drop does that automatically. Copy the title, the picture, etc., right? We're going to categorize this as holiday ornaments. If it doesn't give you the right suggested categorization, then you can just search through the categories, find the right one. Again, just like every other platform, you're going to be slower at listing in the beginning, but as you do it more, you will get faster. You will figure out what categories work best for you. Move down, you can add the color, the material, all that stuff. I don't really ever do that. I always click hide from friends because you don't want it to suggest to your friends when you're listing or you're drop shipping, in my opinion. Again, you could also just make sure that that's selected in your settings on Z-Drop if you want that template in place. Now, next, here we go, right? So if you don't have the shipping option here, see, it's going to be grayed out. You won't have the ability here, like this example account for you, to actually go through and ship products, right? So you're only able to offer local pickup at that point if it's not enabled yet, right? If you haven't listed products, if you haven't done a lot on Facebook, if you have a newer account, a lot of those types of accounts won't have the shipping option just because they don't fully trust you yet. They haven't seen you interact over a long enough period of time, right? So then you would just click next, and then you'd be able to publish that listing, okay? What will typically happen as you start publishing listings, you'll get people reaching out to you that are interested because they can't automatically click the buy button. They can't buy it automatically without talking to you. They have to reach out and speak to you, and so you will start to get messages on your Facebook Marketplace account, okay? And then you just want to respond if there's interested buyers that want to purchase with this message right here. This is the template that works the best. So I always say if somebody's like, hey, can I purchase this? Yeah, of course, it's available. Or, hey, is it available? Yeah, it's available. And then if they're interested and they want to meet up to actually get it, you could say something like, right now, because of my schedule at work, I'm not doing any local meetup, but I can certainly ship it to you with a tracking number. Here's the direct link to my PayPal, and then give them the direct link to your PayPal so that it makes it super easy for them to actually send you the money. You take the friction completely out of it, give them the direct link to the PayPal. Don't say, this is my PayPal email, because that means that they actually have to type the PayPal email in and then send it to you. Decrease the friction involved for them to pay. Give them your PayPal link. So when you set up your PayPal account, you can literally just get the link, click request money in your account when you're signed into PayPal, and then grab your actual link. It will look something like this, and then they will get this link where they can literally just click send and then send you the money directly from their PayPal account, okay? Again, decrease the friction. This is the best option if you don't have the shipping option. So you say, right now, again, because of my work schedule, I'm not doing any local meetup, but I can certainly ship it to you with a tracking number. Here's the direct link to my PayPal, again, making it easy. And then you want to say, and make sure to provide me with your name and address that you'd like it sent to. Then as soon as I receive it, I'll give you the tracking number confirmation and you can monitor it the whole way to you. So obviously this won't convert as many buyers as the buy now button will, right? So you'll see like if 10 people reach out to you, for example, maybe 2 or 3 bite on it, or maybe only 1 bites on it, right? And then sends you the money. But this is going to allow you to actually make money dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace when you don't have the shipping option yet. Use this, it works. And the whole goal is to obviously get the shipping option, but this is the best way, this is the best template, and the best method that works when you don't have it yet. Now, to get the shipping option, you need to start listing consistently for a week or 2. So I would say list a product a day for about a week. And then you want to reach out to support You could do that by just enabling Facebook on your phone. You could also do it just the same on the computer if you wanted to submit a support request. So you come up here, help and support, submit a support request and say, hey, I have a bunch of items listed on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm getting interested people that want to buy my items from a further away location. And obviously we can't meet up locally, so I was trying to ship, but I don't have the shipping option. And if you annoy support into giving the shipping option enough, you have a trustworthy account and you're listing consistently like that, over a span of time, you will get access to the shipping option. That is the best way. Now, another way that you could do it is you just open up Facebook on your phone, go to Marketplace, shake your phone, and then you'll see report a problem. And then you just report the problem from there, just the same. You say the same script. Hey, I have a bunch of listings on Facebook Marketplace. I have a bunch of other interested people that want to buy it, but they aren't local. So I was hoping to get the shipping option. You get the picture, right? And so that's how you drop ship on Facebook Marketplace when you don't have the buy button, when you don't have the shipping option. And that is how you get it, all right? In the next lecture, we're going to move on to how to do it with the shipping option once you get it. And then we'll cover other ways like how to do it with review images. So let's move on. All right. So when dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, there's 2 ways to protect your long-term account health and make sure that you can do this sustainably over time, right? The first is to do the dropship arbitrage like we do on OfferUp and Poshmark as an example, and a little bit of Mercari, as well as use review images. Now, you don't need to do either of those, but doing both of those will help maintain your account health longer because it will be practically impossible to detect that you're drop shipping. So obviously dropship arbitrage, you would just use the label that Facebook provides, and I'll show you that here in a second. And obviously review images are going to help your listings look more native to the platform because platforms like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, for example, started with reselling items, right? So generally speaking, most people still have the perception that they're going to get secondhand items that are used on this platform, although obviously you can find dropship items and new items, right? Furthermore, using review images on your Facebook listings is going to help protect your account from IP claims from other sellers, which used to be a major issue. Isn't that big of an issue anymore, but it's just going to protect your account so you never have to face that issue. So you don't need to do this, especially when you're starting, just to get some actual listings up quickly and start making some money. But as you start thinking about protecting your long-term account health and really doing this consistently over time, I would implore you to at least test these strategies and use them if you want to be completely safe, right? So the way that you can actually do this, if you want to do the dropship arbitrage and dropship with review images, is first and foremost, you need items to get review images that have a lot of reviews, right? If you're listing products that don't have a lot of reviews, like this 38 review bear blow up here, chances are there's not really going to be any high quality review images on this actual product that we can utilize that are going to showcase the actual product well and actually get sales, right? So there's a lower likelihood the lower amount of reviews that you have, but the higher amount of reviews a product has, usually I try to find something that's at least like 400 to 500 reviews, preferably over 1,000. Like this cat right here with almost 1,300 reviews probably has a bunch of really good review images that we can then utilize on our listing. So if we scroll down to the review images just to kind of look, you'll notice that there's a ton of review images here. So see all photos, and boom, it's got a ton of which we can use other people's photos to make it look like we have this product in our possession, and then obviously would do the dropship arbitrage. Now you could do one or the other. You don't have to do both. You could just dropship directly with review images. You could also just do dropship arbitrage with the actual normal listing photos. Both of them work. These are just 2 tools that are going to help you prolong your account health longer, right? So one of the cool things about Z-Drop is when you're doing it with the review images, you can select the actual images here, and it will bring them over with you, right? So if you go down to the review images and we click the check boxes, like for these as an example, then we scroll back up and we copy it to Facebook Marketplace, it will copy those review images for us. So it really saves a ton of time. And then of course it will actually copy the stock listing images as well, but then you can just delete them out. This is going to save you a ton of time because you no longer have to take snippets of them manually, which is what you used to have to do. So this is a complete game changer now, right? So there you go. It's going to take the listing images, but it also at the end put the review images that we selected, again, all with Z-Drop just by clicking the check boxes. And so then if you want to use review images only, you just delete all the normal images out of there, and bam, now we only have review images on our listing, and it looks a lot better, okay? Then you would go through just like normal. You would edit the title. You would edit the description just like normal. Again, it marked the price up automatically. Now category, this would be a lawn ornament or a holiday ornament. I'm going to say lawn ornament. The condition here is new. And now if you want to do the dropship arbitrage when you click next, instead of actually using your own label, right? So instead of using your own shipping label, you would use the prepaid label that they give you so that instantly Facebook has that tracking number and there's less ambiguity, there's less customer complaints. They get the tracking number immediately in their order. Facebook has it synced up automatically, and so you don't run into many issues. It doesn't look like you're drop shipping. And then of course you would have to order it to your house first, use the label, package it, drop it off at the post office, etc. Right? So the way that you can do this, just like you would on Mercari or Poshmark, you don't really need to worry about it, but Mercari is you'd go back to the listing. You'd obviously have to find out the weight. So you just scroll down to the product dimensions really fast and product information. There it is right here. It's a pound and it's 9 by 9 by roughly 8. So we'd come back, we'd say it's a pound, and we can pick our shipping carrier. Obviously, we'd go USPS first class here because it's cheaper, and then we'd update it. Now we're using the prepaid label that Facebook provides us. So we're doing the dropship arbitrage on this listing, and we did it with review images. So really hope that helps, guys. You don't need to do these two things. They're just two tools that can help prolong your account health and really fly under the radar dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace. Give them a shot.
All you need to do to list this to Facebook Marketplace is copy to Facebook. All it's going to do is it's going to simply copy it to Facebook. Now, it might go a little bit slow because I have this up and I also have a bunch of like cross posting for List Perfectly in the background. So like it's doing that while I'm doing this. So it's being a little bit slow. And then you simply, once it opens up this blank page on Facebook Marketplace, but then you just want to hit paste data once it opens it up there. And then it should slowly start pasting that listing in. And that's the simplicity of it. That's all you need to do, right? The Chrome extension does all the heavy lifting for you. Now it's taking a minute. There we go. It's even going to paste the tags or some tags, which is obviously something that's really, really cool that I haven't seen before personally. And you can also see that with the template that I set up, it automatically hides it from friends, which I know is a big thing for a lot of people, because if you have like you can also do this from like a business page and list from a business page, but a lot of people are going to be listing from their personal page. And so a lot of people have an issue. They're like, I don't want to constantly be posting like hundreds of things to my friends every day. They're going to hate me. So just simply hit the hide from friends button. You can do it manually, or you can set that up in your template on ZDrop. Another thing that the template automatically does is that you'll see it set the price to 18 because I automatically have it set at a 20%. I think it's 20% profit margin. So it marked it up 20%. So $15.99 to $18. And then I think that's 20%. Yeah, that's 20%. So it already automatically does that for me, right? Now, you'll see how to verify the price here once we go to next, and it'll tell you your profit margin. But let me go through this slowly of exactly how I would do this. You can see it added some tags, but like I want some more specific tags. So we're going to go like butane torch, mini torch. I don't know anything about torches. We'll go like cooking torch. I don't know, maybe lighter. And I would probably add a few more. You can add up to 20, but I would add some here if it didn't add like good ones in there already, okay? But for the sake of showing you, I'm not going to get too involved here. Now we're just going to simply go up the list, right? So we need to add and adjust all these things right here. So it's no, it's not that. It's not outdoor lighting. I'm just going to say tools for the sake of demonstrating here, but I probably want to find like the best category here. It might be like kitchen or home improvement, like something along those lines. But for the sake of showing you, I'm going to just do it like this. I rarely add the brand in here unless it's something like Little Tykes or something like, what's another? DeWalt's a good one that seems to get a lot of traction on Facebook. So like if it's a brand like that, that's easily recognizable that people might be searching for, add the brand in, right? That makes sense. But I generally don't. Now, two ways that you can do this is you can just keep track of your margins. If you really want to make more sales, but not have a high profit margin, you will make more sales the more competitive your prices are, right? So I'm going to make more sales, chances are, at $18 than I would at like 25, right? But I'm going to list this relatively high, maybe go like 23 here, because I'd rather list it high so I don't really have to pay attention to it. And then I just know that there's a lot of potential profit in there. On top of that, I already know that it's not really going to change the price much because it's Amazon's choice and it's, the price here isn't going to fluctuate. It's pretty much set. That's not always the case, but it is for the majority of cases, okay? So I'm going to list it at $23. I'm going to say like available quantity. Like you can list this like maybe like 1 to 5 realistically. I would list more than one quantity if you're drop shipping, because if you only list quantity of 1, then you're going to have to relist it every single time. But I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't be like, oh, I never have to relist this. I'm just going to put 99 quantity. And then I'm going to fix the title here. So we're going to go like kitchen butane torch, culinary torch referable. And then at the end of this, because sometimes it cuts off, you can leave it if you don't really care and you're just going for volume. I like to kind of fix it really fast. So like with safety lock, boom. And we're going to select all of this because like I said, we are going to paste it in the top of the description. And that's how our listing is going to look, right? When somebody comes to this listing on Facebook Marketplace and buys it, we're going to make the markup and profit. And that listing doesn't look too bad. I know when somebody buys this, I go to 96 here. It's got some tags and it looks pretty solid. I'm going to go shipping only. I'm going to use my own shipping label, right? We don't use a prepaid shipping label. So what I recommend is obviously just ship it with your own label, and then you can order it directly from Amazon or wherever. This is how dropshipping actually works, right? Order it from Amazon specifically or from whatever website that you're obviously ordering from, whoever your supplier is, directly to the customer, right? And then you can use the tracking number like I've said before. So you can see here that after all is said and done, if I sell this at $23 and I'm obviously making $21.85 after fees. That's one of the benefits of Facebook Marketplace dropshipping is their fees are so low, only 5%, which is the lowest online with a marketplace where there's a lot of customers on. So this is a great opportunity right now, and their fees are so low, so your margins are going to be higher. So I'm going to make $21.85 when I list this. If somebody buys it, obviously, I'm buying it for about $15, so that's a $6 profit margin or almost a $7 profit margin, okay? So I'm literally almost making 50% margin here on this product, right? I think that is over 50%. So then we're gonna hit next and we are going to list. So OfferUp is a great opportunity to also, list on another platform, make more sales on another platform, communicate a different product to a different type of buyer that may not be on Facebook on, again, another platform, okay? So the main issues with dropshipping on OfferUp, first and foremost, is they only want you to list from your phone, okay? So if you go to the website and you try to list it or post something, it's gonna tell you to download the app. So currently, they only really want you to list from your phone. You need to use an OfferUp label a lot like Poshmark, okay? So you need to use the OfferUp label to ship to the customer, okay? And that is, kind of a hindrance because you can't literally order from your supplier directly to the customer. When you make a sale, you order that product to your house first. In this case specifically, you need to use a supplier that's going to obviously have fast handling times. So a supplier and a product, right? A supplier and a product that has fast handling times and fast shipping times so that it's going to get to you within 2 to 3 days, because you need to ship out within 2 to 3 days on OfferUp. So if you list, for example, an Amazon Prime product and you order that Amazon Prime product to you, well, it's going to get to you in most cases within 2 days, right? Because Amazon Prime's free 2-day shipping, and a lot of times now it's free 1-day shipping. So for me, for example, like when I used to do this heavily, I would list products with Prime. It would come to my house like the next day, if not like a day later, and then I would literally just package it up with the OfferUp label and then bam, ship it out to the customer. If you do it on mobile, however, you'll see here that one of the main issues is like you need to actually snapshot the pictures on Amazon or wherever you're taking the pictures from, whether it's Walmart or wherever, and you need to actually screenshot them and then save them, and that takes a lot of time, so it slows you down and kind of hinders the amount of listings that you're able to do. And so one of the things that I learned is if you simply download one of the apps that is Microsoft Edge, Firefox, or Google Chrome, it makes it a lot easier because you can just tap on the picture and save it. So let me show you what I mean here. If we tap on these pictures right here, I can just hold in on Microsoft Edge and save the image, tap the second one, save the image, tap the second one, save the image, and you get the picture, right? And I do that for every single image there, but it's a lot faster than if you had to screenshot every one of them. Now all I have to do is I copy the title there. Let me zoom in a little bit so I make sure I get that. I copy the title there. And now I have the images and the picture. So now that we have the picture and the title pasted in there, we just need to make sure we categorize this correctly. So this is collectibles and art, let's say, and you could say arts and craft supplies. Subcategory, you always want to put in there as well, and we'll just go all the way down to other. The categories matter on OfferUp because obviously it's going to help you, but because there's so little competition and listings on the platform actually, because everybody has to do it for mobile, they don't matter as much, and so that's a little hack and tip to go a little bit faster as well. And then you just copy the description. This is marked at almost $50, so we'll mark it up, paste the description in there, hit next. We'll list this at like 67, well, let's go 75 just to be safe. I don't ever auto accept orders, and this is medium, and then post it. And you'll see just how much faster is posting on OfferUp when you use an actual browser app, either Firefox, Edge, or Google Chrome. It makes it a lot faster because you can then save the pictures instead of having to like screenshot the actual image every time, which is going to slow you down drastically.
All right, so what happens if you get an order, right? How do you actually find that product? Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually go ahead and find that item. The first thing that you want to do, obviously, is click in. These are orders that I got a while back. So click into the actual item. The first thing that you want to do is obviously the easiest. Just take the actual name of the product, assuming you haven't changed it too much. Even if you have changed it a little bit, you can still probably just paste it into your supplier. So if this is an Amazon one, paste that title into Amazon, and boom, you can see that product is literally right there. If that doesn't work and you can't find it that way, then you can paste it into Google, see if it pops up on Google, and chances are other similar ones. So you can see this is actually on eBay. It's on Shine. It's on Amazon. It's also on Amazon again. That might be, no, that's a slightly different listing. And it's on Dropship Close as well, right? So there's a number of different suppliers that are all giving something very, very similar to this. Now, if that doesn't work, one of the things that you can do that a lot of people don't know is if you're using ZDrop like I recommend, and you click into ZDrop, you'll see that it stores all of your actual inventory, right? And where it was listed. So if you just click down on advanced search, you can search keywords into the title function here. Like for example, we'll say sleeveless striped and see if it pops up. Click filter, and usually the pictures are right here so you can see it a little bit better, but for whatever reason it's not loading right this second. But let's just try to click this first one to see if this is the actual product, and bam, it is. So that's the product right there. So ZDrop stores your inventory automatically when you use it, which is really, really cool. Now, if you search this entire title, sometimes it won't come up. So just search keywords back to back. So you could search like comfy sleeveless, rump or summer, tank jumpsuit, stuff like that, right? And you can search pretty much anything in here, it's gonna store it. Now, if that doesn't work and you can't find it in ZDrop using the actual keyword search, that will take you directly to your supplier when you click on the product image. So click on this, it will take me to that product listing. But if that doesn't work, you can't find it on the supplier, you can't find it on Google, and you can't find it searching keywords in ZDrop, one of the best things that you can do is just save one of the images or save a few of the images and do a reverse image search on Google. So just save one of the images. Doesn't matter as what. You can see I literally have it bookmarked here because my VA uses it all the time. You search by image on Google, put that in there, and that should analyze the image and then come back with all the places that it finds a similar image. There we go. It's on Amazon. That one's a little bit more expensive than the other listings, so we could keep trying to find it a little bit cheaper, but you get the picture, right? So this is going to help you find products once you make sales. Obviously, you should know your main suppliers anyway. I always recommend that people start with, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, maybe even Target potentially, and some others. So you should know your main suppliers anyway. You could just search the search bars there. But if all else fails, do the reverse image search before obviously you cancel the order or you mark it fake shipped or anything along those lines, whether it's Poshmark or any other platform that you're getting the orders. So hope it helps. So I really briefly want to show how I keep track of my orders. It's really simple. A lot of people try to overcomplicate it and they want some special secret complicated software. And the reality is you don't even need that. You can just use Excel or realistically anything like Excel. I just have Excel. So the first way is through Poshmark, right? So all I literally do, you can see that I keep track of the date, the item title, and then the profit, right? And then as I kept going through Poshmark, I stopped keeping track of the date and the item title and the sale. And obviously you don't need the tracking number on Poshmark because on Poshmark, you're using their labels. You need to. Same thing with OfferUp. So this is just like a dummy Excel spreadsheet to show you guys how I operate this. Obviously, I would also have one down here for OfferUp, one for Facebook Marketplace, obviously Mercari you see here. The list goes on and on. But generally speaking, there's only two ways I really maintain it. So it's Poshmark and OfferUp this way, where I don't keep track of anything but the profit on the sale. That's really all you need to focus on. So let's say, for example, you get a sale on Poshmark and you're netting $30 on that sale, and you buy that product on Amazon for $22. Well, obviously you don't need to write 30 and 22 in the expenses column here, which is going to net you 8, right? You can just do that math instantly or with a calculator and then write down the profit. It's so much simpler. It's the only number you really need to focus on Poshmark and OfferUp because, again, any sale, any issue is going to take place within the app, within the website, so you can do everything there. It keeps track of all of that. You can also download all your sales in an organized spreadsheet spreadsheet and they'll email it to you right from the actual seller app. So it's very simple. So again, all you really need to do, keep track of your profit. And then obviously you can see how many sales you made over here on the left column, all the profit for each sale. So you can see what your average is if you want to calculate that. And then if you scroll down to the bottom as we go down here, because obviously I tend to have a decent amount of orders for Poshmark, it starts to auto calculate, right? That's really easy to set up. So if we're going back here, let's move over to the G column here, and I'll maximize this a little bit more so you can see it. So let's say your first sale of the day is $7. Next sale of the day is $4 profit. And then you get one for like 35, right? So all you would do is take the first column where you have a number, drag it all the way down to the bottom so you get to the row that you actually want to calculate the total on, let it go, and then come up to auto sum here. And boom, it's going to take you to the top, and then you'll scroll back down, and it's just going to auto calculate all those numbers and add them up for you automatically, so that when you come up and you start adding more numbers, like let's say you got a sale for $42 profit, $5 profit, $12 profit, right? And then it's just going to keep track of that going forward for you, and that's how you set it up. It's super easy. So that's all I do for Poshmark. That's all I do for OfferUp. You do not need to keep track of anything else because it will do it all for you automatically. Now, as far as Mercari and Facebook Marketplace goes, right? So it's really going to depend for Mercari specifically, or Facebook Marketplace as well. If you're doing the dropship arbitrage, like we covered, if you're doing the dropship arbitrage, then obviously you really only need to keep track of the profit for that sale. Again, because it's all going to take place natively on that platform. So it'll all be stored on Facebook. It'll all be stored on Mercari, right? And then you could keep track of it if you want. So let's say hypothetically you're doing dropship arbitrage. Again, you would just input the person's name. You could input the title. Obviously, there's not going to be any tracking for the shipment because you're going to be using the label that they provide you with, hence the dropship arbitrage. So then you would leave that blank. You'd put in what you earned on the platform, right? So if it was Mercari in this instance, you could say 55, and then you spent 45. And then to get the average profit for this column, you just go equals this column minus spent, enter, right? So again, we'll do like one for here. Let's say you got $56. It only cost you 27 this time. See, it starts to auto calculate as you move down. So you only really need to do it once or twice in these columns. Let's delete these just so I can kind of show you. So we'll go 54 and we'll go 27. And see how it didn't auto calculate because it hasn't picked up that that's the rule we want yet. So to get it to actually start auto calculating, you go equals when you're clicked on the actual profit cell here, equals this minus that, enter, there you go. And then as you do that 3-4 times, it's going to start auto calculating as you go down. Didn't do it that time. See if it does it this time. Didn't do it that time. See, started auto calculating already at the 5th one right there. And then to get the profit at the bottom, just like anything, you're going to drag it down. Let's delete this out just so you can see. You're going to drag it down, auto sum it into that column. Boom, 93, and then it'll start adding, right? If you need to add any rows, obviously this is really high. You just hold Control-Shift+, and it'll start adding rows and moving everything down, keeping the rule. So it's really easy to do that. It's probably something similar on Mac. Just Google whatever it is, but I'm sure it's probably like Command+ or something along those lines, something very similar. But this is how I keep track of Mercari and Facebook and other sites like that where you're going to be drop shipping directly. Because like we talked about, each platform is different, right? So on Facebook, you could do the dropship arbitrage or you could drop ship directly. On Mercari, you could do the dropship arbitrage or you could drop ship directly. It's going to depend on your supplier and your approach. And obviously, I talk about that in those individual lectures. So it's going to depend what you're putting in these cells here. But if you're drop shipping directly, you obviously want to keep track of everything because you need to be able to look back at this in the future if for whatever reason you get a return request, if for whatever reason you have an inquiry about some kind of order, you want to be able to look that order up. You don't want to be playing guessing games and just being like, oh, I don't remember that order. That was 2 weeks ago. No, you want to have all that in an organized spreadsheet, keep track of it. It does it once you get good at it. This takes literally like 30 seconds when you're placing an order. You're just recording, okay, what's the item title? Obviously, I'm just copying and pasting these in. Normally, I just put these in for the sake of showing you, examples, but you're just going to copy the actual title on the order. Paste that product title in there, and now you'll know. What's the buyer's name? Now you'll know. That way, if you ever get an inquiry from Frank Alvarez or whatever that is, right, you just come in here, Control F, so you can search through the spreadsheet, and you go, well, I got an inquiry from Frank A.
in Mercari, search and find it, and that will pop up with that order. So now you know, right? Then you input the tracking number here. Again, you're just keeping track of everything. You want to stay organized. You want to keep track of all this stuff so you can look back at it later and make sure. Now, another reason that this is important, obviously, is let's say, for example, that you get an order where you're losing money, or you get an order that's something that's out of stock and you fake shipped it. Again, I've covered this in another lecture, why you may or may not want to do that depending on the specific situation, platform, etc. So one of the ways that I keep track of that really easily is I'll just highlight that column in blue, and then I know going forward, let's say I get an inquiry from Tyler Bloom, says his product wasn't delivered. I come into the spreadsheet, I search, because again, you're not going to have 4 orders here. You're probably going to have dozens or hundreds, right? So it's going to be tough to look through them all. So you just search, okay, well, Tyler Bloom is complaining that his order didn't deliver. So I search that up. Oh, I can see immediately it's blue. That way I know immediately. I fake ship that to them. He's not in the wrong. I did it, and I can preemptively handle it, admit I'm wrong, and it's really advantageous to keep track of it all, right? Then obviously once you put the tracking number in and you mark it shipped, what I do is I come in, you want to keep all the data, but you don't want to get bogged down and overwhelmed. So I'll just come in and I'll make that size 1 in the font, and then you can't see it anymore, but the data is still there if you still need to search. Okay, Tyler Bloom said complaining. Oh, we know that this one's Tyler Bloom, so then I can just re-maximize that out and then see that again, right? So then it'll slowly start to look like as you process orders, all these are going to be minimized, so you can only focus on the orders that you still need to ship out. It's the easiest way that I found to keep track of all this stuff. It doesn't matter if you're keeping track on Facebook, Poshmark, Mercari, wherever. This is the easiest way. You don't need some fancy software to keep track of it for you. Just keep it in an organized spreadsheet, set it up to auto calculate like I showed you, and do it month to month, right? You can see I marked this July 2024. Obviously we're in August now. I'm just showing you I deleted all the orders that were actually on these spreadsheets, but I do it month to month. That way I can look back at the end of the month, see all the data for that specific month, right? See how much profit I made on each website. What you track, you can obviously improve. That way you can know, okay, hey, I'm crushing Poshmark right now. Maybe it's time to focus a little bit more on that because that's yielding more results. Or hey, Facebook Marketplace is kind of taken off. Or hey, my Mercari sales have dipped. They used to be, $2,000 a month in profit. Now all of a sudden they're $1,200. Where are we going wrong? And then you can kind of look back. And then you can pick up your spreadsheets for the previous month, right? Like open them up from like months past when you're doing better. See what products you were selling at that time, right? Literally go look through and be like, okay, I sold a bunch of these. Maybe I should list more things like that. What you track, you can improve, so keep track of everything. So how do you track your inventory? How do you deal with price changes when drop shipping on these websites? Do you use software? Do you need something that automatically connects in and is constantly changing everything to make sure that you never sell an item that's out of stock, or never sell an item where the price has drastically increased and now is losing money? So when you're drop shipping on platforms like Amazon or eBay, right? There's a lot more software available that can track and adjust your prices and your inventory based on the supplier's website. And this is obviously going to ensure that you remain profitable and you never receive an order where your supplier is then out of stock on that item. But a common question I get is like, what software do I use on sites like Poshmark, Mercari, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace? The list goes on. And surprisingly, I don't use any software for this. I have over like 30,000 listings probably across all of them, maybe more. And I manage it all without a repricer or without a stock monitoring tool. Here's why. When you're a beginner, when you're just starting, right? And you don't have enough listings yet to justify the cost of a repricing software, you're not getting enough sales to even need it. And you can manage all your listings manually very easy. Plus, any software solution that you would use for this would get expensive very, very fast as you add listings. Trust me, I've looked into all of them. Now, if you're an intermediate and advanced seller, at this stage, while software might sound advantageous because you obviously have more listings, consistent sales are going to bury any occasional needs that you're going to have to cancel an order due to an out of stock or a price change. So if you have to cancel an order, it'll just get buried in your metrics because you're selling so many so consistently. It's not going to matter. And then at that point, you can simply put the product out of stock or delete it from your inventory so you don't sell it again, or you can increase the price if you're losing money on it and then cancel a sale for that reason. For example, I rarely have to take a loss on a product, but if I do, then I just adjust the price immediately, or I cancel the order if the loss is significant. Since I sell like 10 to 20 items a day roughly, one canceled order every week or even every few days doesn't impact my overall metrics significantly. Now, depending on your account, you can cancel up to 5 or even 10% of your orders without an issue. I would not cross that 5 mark though. I would try to keep it underneath that. And of course, platform to platform, it's going to differ, but generally speaking, if you're selling a bunch of orders, canceling an order here and there is not going to be a big deal. Now, when your supplier is out of stock, I keep track of the order in a spreadsheet and I'll check back daily. And if it's still out of stock after a few days, then I'll cancel the order at that point. This rarely impacts my metrics because it's a small fraction of my overall sales. Now, many people overcomplicate dropshipping by thinking they need some special software or special sourcing strategy. They think that they need all the bells and the whistles to get started and make any money, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. Keep it simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. I promise you, you can always complicate it later if you want to. Currently, you don't need any software to monitor your prices or your stock levels unless you're using very obscure suppliers. Most suppliers used by dropshippers have stable stock levels and prices, especially if your main suppliers are going to be Amazon and Walmart, which is typically what I recommend for most beginners. And if you're using something like Target or eBay, obviously, then you might need to change it a little bit more frequently, but that's why I suggest building the base of your store with Amazon and Walmart first. They're more reliable, they're more consistent. Then start branching out to more obscure suppliers, even other ones than I've mentioned, because then you can get different product types, differentiated products that no one else is selling on these sites, and increase your margins. And if you're listing with a margin that's high enough, slight price fluctuations on your supplier's website won't put you at a loss anyway. So to summarize, don't overcomplicate things, list a bunch of items, see what works, and scale from there. If you're not making consistent sales, list more products, do some product research. Avoid getting caught up in the latest software trends. If you've got a listing software that works, that's all you need. If you're dropshipping on somewhere like Poshmark too, then you might need a share bot as well. But that's it. It's simple, it's not sexy, but it works and it'll get you paid. So I really briefly want to talk about returns and how they're handled on each platform. So let's knock Poshmark out of the way first and foremost. On Poshmark, customers file return requests from time to time, and depending on the situation, you can either obviously message back support when they actually have the return request and say, hey, I don't think it should be able to be returned for X, Y, and Z reasons, or you can just accept it, and then you don't have to worry about paying for the cost of shipping back. Poshmark handles that. It's really easy because then you can just return the item completely free. I'm going to show you that at the end of this video on how you can return any Amazon item for free, right? Also, you can return pretty much any Walmart item for free, pretty much any eBay item for free, as long as you don't abuse that. We're going to talk about that briefly at the end of this video. But so understand that Poshmark returns, you don't get that many. I probably get one every 20 or 30 orders-ish, depending. And usually it's my fault. It's when I, ship something that's similar because I couldn't find that product because it went out of stock or something along those lines. Or maybe I mixed up order labels because I was doing it too fast. This happens all the time to me during Q4 when orders are just crazy. So for example, let's say it got broken. Obviously, I'm just going to say that they can return it. If, for example, they realized that they got a different product than they were supposed to, and I was the reason for that because I shipped them the wrong product, then I would own up to that, saying something along the lines of, hey, I have 2 of these that are very similar, and it looks like I accidentally sent you the wrong one. I'm sorry, this was my mistake, so I own it, and then I let them return it, right? Then the buyer's happy. They don't feel like they got scammed. Poshmark's happy because now we're both amicably handling it, and I'm happy because it didn't ding my metrics. I didn't have to cancel an order, and I'm still able to then return it on Amazon for free or Walmart or wherever. Now, if it is their fault, right? For example, like they say, hey, I didn't realize that this was a small. I wanted a medium even though I ordered a small. Or, hey, I don't like the way that this actually looks on me. Or, hey, I changed my mind. I don't want it anymore. Or something along those lines, I'll typically fight that back because on Poshmark, they're not allowed to just return anything as long as it was listed properly and described properly, right? So if it's the right pictures and it's the right description and they got exactly what they ordered, they're technically not allowed to return it. So you can say that in their return request. Make sure that you say, this was exactly the right condition, description, variation, color. The buyer got exactly what they ordered, and so this isn't returnable. The same thing goes with Mercari, right? So Mercari has switched their return policy a few times, but currently at the time of recording this, you are able to dispute it again. So I use the same approach, right? If it's my fault, then I'll just let them return it. If it isn't my fault and for whatever reason they want to return it for any number of those reasons, then I'll fight it and I'll say something along the lines of like, hey, this was described exactly what it was. The buyer got exactly what they ordered and this isn't returnable. And on those platforms, generally speaking, if you're true in that, and it is, then they'll side with you and they won't let them return it. Every once in a while, it is up to obviously like the human reviewer's discretion. So every once in a while, they will accept it and they'll just send it back anyway. But that's the price of doing business on these websites. So understand that. Now on Facebook Marketplace and other platforms like that, you do have to cover the return shipping, right? So you have to pay that. And so I handle that a little bit differently on Facebook Marketplace. So on Facebook Marketplace, if, for example, they do want to return it, and again, if it's my fault, then I'll just pay for the shipping. I'll eat the cost, or I'll refund them, or I'll send them another, or whatever. That's the price of doing business, and it only happens every once in a while. Less if you're shipping the right products and you're doing it correctly. But if they do want to return it for one of their reasons, right? They didn't like it, or it doesn't fit right, or whatever the case is, then I'll usually say something along the lines of, yeah, you can return it. Send them the return address, be like, this is the return warehouse, you can send it back here. But I do not cover return shipping, right? I don't say that. I just tell them where they can ship it. If they want to ship it back on their dollar, I'll return it for them and then refund their money, right? And every once in a while, you'll get somebody that complains, is like, hey, you're not going to pay for the return shipping. And I can just tell them at that point, it's my policy that I don't cover return shipping, but they're welcome to return it. And when we receive it back, we'll issue them a refund. So I will post to this actual lecture my template for that and what I say on Facebook Marketplace. It works very well, as well as all the other customer service templates that I have for Facebook Marketplace as well. I will post them to this lecture so that you can use them. They're very helpful. But keep a log of these so you can just kind of fire in responses that obviously fit, and you don't have to type it out every single time. It goes so much smoother. Now, you can return anything on Amazon, anything on Walmart, anything on eBay, or etc. if you tell them it was damaged and it showed up that way, right? Now, this is going to be your call, and you need to make the decision yourself if obviously it's not damaged, whether or not you want to damage it yourself and then ship it back. Because obviously if it showed up damaged, it wasn't what you were expecting, and so they need to honor the return and the refund. Now, again, that is an ethical concern, so it's up to you to make that judgment call if you want to do that. I'm just giving you all the tools and then letting you decide what you want to do. But you can return pretty much any product if you say that. You show proof of it, obviously, that would indicate that you do need to damage it yourself, right? So whether you rip it, you break it, whatever, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that is an option. Again, giving you all the tools from my experience if you want to go that route. Now, on Amazon specifically, you can also return anything by just simply saying it's an inaccurate website description. I'm going to show you that right after I'm done speaking. I'm going to drop a video that I did teaching you how to do that very, very easily, so you can return any product for free. Obviously, that's going to increase your margins because you don't have to pay to ship it back, which will then cut into your costs for orders that you're actually not getting profit on, right? So that's pretty much everything about returns and how I handle them on different platforms. Really hope it helps.
What you basically do, here's an example of a skin thing that my girlfriend just ordered. So if I wanted to return this for free and get my $17.99 plus whatever I paid in tax back, then what I would do is I'd simply hit return and replaced items, okay? Now, there's many ways to return an item on Amazon, but if you want to make sure that you get all your money back, right, including the tax, what you want to do is you want to select that item, and then when you choose your response, you want to choose inaccurate website description. It's going to ask you for comments and to, basically explain why it's inaccurate. So you can literally say like, not what I was expecting, or, isn't as described, or whatever you want. Now, full disclosure, I don't recommend doing this with a lot of products, obviously. Obviously, you're getting your money back, and the seller that sold that item is going to be potentially out that product because it's going to say that, it wasn't as described, or it might not necessarily go back into their active inventory or inventory that they can fulfill, right? So they might need to either get it sent back to them and then ship it back into FBA, or potentially get it destroyed, okay? So I recommend that you don't abuse this, A, for the sake of the other seller, not that you owe them anything, but just because it's a nice thing to do. And B, because you don't want to be seen with all your certain metrics if you're ordering only like 10 products, right? And you're returning 5 of them for, as inaccurate website description. Well, that's going to look weird in Amazon's eyes usually, right? And it's going to probably tick off the algorithm a little bit, and it's going to look shady, right? So if you're ordering hundreds of products, then what you can do is you can do that every once in a while, right? But I wouldn't recommend abusing it and doing it too much. So if you're ordering a couple hundred products, can you do it 5 to 10 times in a month? Of course. Get your money back for certain items. You shouldn't be running into many issues like all the time anyway, but this is just another tool in your tool belt that you can utilize to get your money back on a product if you need to. A short tutorial now on List Perfectly, which is a multi-channel cross-posting software that you can use in your own reselling business to save you a lot of time and post to more marketplaces. So you can post more items to more places and more potential buyers and obviously spend less time doing so, right? Now, there's 3 different plans. I'm on the middle one, which is $49.99 a month, but you can start out with the more basic plan, or if you're already scaled up, you can obviously scale up a little bit more. I don't see the need realistically for the top plan, at least so far with me, but you might, okay? Now, it's like I said, the one that I recommend typically is like $49.99 a month, and it's really going to depend on how many listings and products you obviously have, right? Whether it makes sense to you. There should be like a threshold realistically. If you only have like 10 to 20 products and you're just kind of starting, then obviously this software doesn't make sense for you, and this is not the video for you. But if you're a beginner and you plan on scaling, then you should pay attention to this. Or if you already have a decent amount of listings, like there's really no one size fits all answer. Maybe it's like 50 or 100 plus or something like that. Then this software is a no-brainer and it makes perfect sense, because then you can cross-post it to multiple platforms, save yourself loads of time, and it's just so much easier to use when you're actually doing so, right? You'll see these little list perfectly symbol on all of your listings, regardless, as long as you're signed in to list perfectly and sign in your store, obviously. And then from here, you can click this and post it to any of the sites. But this is a game changer, because you can select whatever ones you want to post to and wherever you have a store, and it will literally cross-post it to every other place. So for an example, let's cross-post this bikini right here to Mercari, okay? And you'll see that it literally pops up with the Mercari listing, and it will start populating all the information from that Poshmark listing into Mercari, right? And it does this all for me. I don't have to do it myself. I don't have to copy the pictures manually, paste them in. I literally just sit here, wait about 20 to 30 seconds, and then I verify everything and put some of the other stuff in there. Now, because I'm doing this from Poshmark and it doesn't have any hashtags, obviously it's going to be different if you add some things in here from the actual list perfectly, like website. But when you're cross-posting specifically from Poshmark, it's not going to have the hashtags, so you just need to add them in, okay? But description looks good. The only thing different with Mercari, and you have to know from site to site the different nuances of it. For example, like the Mercari title is a little bit shorter than the Poshmark title or the eBay title, so just make sure that it looks good, right? So like instead of being like that right there and ending it there, we want maybe crisscross, high-waisted string bikini. And we'll just go that way, right? And make the title look fine. You also need to know, like, if you're cross-posting it from Mercari specifically to Poshmark or vice versa in any capacity, you just need to know the different nuances of it, because the Poshmark description is not nearly as long as you can post on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or Mercari or eBay or, any of those things. And sometimes you can add a certain amount of pictures on one and not the other. So you just need to know the different nuances. You will learn that very fast as you do it. Add your hashtags in, and then select the category and stuff, and then simply post it. It has your price already set in there. So it's pretty much pulling all the data from one listing and taking it into the other specific marketplace. And that way it saves you a lot of time, because the pictures are, in my experience, the thing that slows you down the most. And obviously any time period that you can save is going to make a massive difference it's not going to make a massive difference if you're listing like 1 or 2 things. But if you're listing like 10 to like 100 items a day, it's going to save massive amounts of time and is so worth it, okay?
At this point in the course, you've learned the fundamentals of listing and drop shipping on a few marketplaces. And while this is a fantastic place to start, the truth is there's much bigger opportunities out there once you're ready to expand. And there's a lot more nuance to understand about each specific platform so you can get a lot more sales. Now, if you want to learn more about retail dropshipping, not just the basics, but everything that I know on all the top platforms out there currently, then the best next step for you is to enroll in my eCommerce accelerator. If you follow what I teach inside the accelerator, there is no reason that you can't be making thousands in profit without spending a dime on ads. It is all done through organic retail dropshipping, just like this, just like we covered the basics in this specific course. Now, once you have that reliable income stream, you could use it as a side hustle that pays your bills, or as a foundation to, fund bigger projects without the risk of spending your own money and then obviously failing, right? Because now you have that proven cash flow, you can pay your bills or use it to scale another business with zero risk. And that is why I love this business model so much for beginners. For me, this business model was one of the biggest turning points in my life when I realized that I didn't know everything and I had a lot more to learn. But then when I saw a big opportunity with little downside risk and a massive upside, I immediately started jumping into those opportunities, and that decision changed everything for me, and maybe this will be your defining moment too. So if you're ready to take the next step, here's exactly what to do. Head over to learnecom.net, enroll in the e-commerce accelerator, and you can use the code FREEDS20 at checkout for 50% off. This discount is exclusively for the students in this course that have gotten through it to where you are now. Or if you want the easiest option, I will also link it to this lecture either above or below. And that direct link will take you directly to the enrollment page with the discount already applied for you. All right. Now, this is the same exact system that I wish that I had when I started. It will save you time, it will save you money, and it will help you build consistent monthly income from week one. So bet on yourself, take action, and I'll see you inside. Congratulations on watching all the videos in this section. That's step one. Now, you're already ahead of 99% of all the other sellers out there that are looking to finally take their sales to the next level. I owe a lot of my e-commerce success to a simple formula. It's learn plus action plus adjust, then rinse and repeat. And so you can learn or watch the videos like you've done in this course, but if you don't act on what you've learned, you won't get results. You also need to see what comes as a result of the action that you've taken. That way you can get feedback and then adjust your approach to get better results going forward. I used to be under the false assumption that just because I enrolled or purchased a course and I watched the videos that I would be successful. It gives you that quick dopamine rush and leads you to believe that you've accomplished something already, even though you have not. But that's not true. If I'm being honest, watching the course is the easy part. What comes next isn't necessarily hard, it just takes knowing what actions to take and some consistency. Now, I've been in the e-commerce game for something like 5+ years now. My team of VAs and I have listed tens of thousands of products across dozens of different websites, built out systems that are proven to scale your business, and we know what actions will get results quickly. More importantly, we've made all the mistakes. We know what not to do, because avoiding the big mistakes is really the not so secret shortcut in the process. So if you'd like to jumpstart your e-com business and make sure you know exactly what you should be doing to get results the fastest, book a call with me so I can walk you through everything one-on-one. I rarely take consulting calls, but I've blocked out a few hours a week just for students in this course that are serious about taking their e-com sales to the next level. And not just getting mediocre sales, but actually getting great results. This is a limited offer. It's only available for serious students enrolled in this. And I can't take call requests from everybody, so this is on a first come, first serve basis. By clicking the links on this lecture, you can book a one-time coaching call to make sure that you're headed in the right direction, not wasting your time, and not making those big mistakes that will delay your success. You can also ask me a direct question, which I respond to very quickly, or you can book a call package so I can get to know your specific goals and your business a little bit more intimately and make sure that you're getting results over time. Again, the truth is success with anything, but especially e-commerce, is not a one-time thing where you watch a course and now you've made it. It requires you to stay updated and consistently take the right actions. I'd love to make sure that you're doing that and you're on the right track. Click the links to book a call package that works best for you, and we'll talk soon.